Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got the final PCMR for the month of October. Pretty crazy. The holidays are just kind of passing us by, I guess. But you know what? A lot of good stuff to talk about in this video. If you guys are looking for coins that you can make real honest money off of, wow, that was a mouthful. Then look no further. 2021 coinage has more than surpassed a lot of people's expectations. We have a number of them to kind of go over in the Pocket Change Market Report for today. And then hopefully, maybe this will incentivize a lot of you to really hunt down some of these specific 2021 coins, which there are plenty of. In spite of what you may think with this whole coin shortage and everything going on with that, there are a lot of these coins. Even if you are able to just pick up a few rolls at your bank, make sure you try it out, because based off of the completed sales of a lot of these coins, there's a lot of money to be made. If you're active in it and you go out there and you pursue some of these rolls at the bank, congratulations, you probably are one step closer to finding some of these coins. And they're not particularly rare. I'm going to go ahead and point that out. A lot of these errors that are being found on 2021 coins are not particularly rare. More than enough of them have been found out in circulation. More than enough of them have realized some sort of secondary market sales, most notably on eBay, which is what we're going to look at, all of these listings. So there are a lot of people that are making money. They're recognizing that these are out there, and they're taking advantage of the market. Now, here's what's going to happen. As we get closer to 2022, we also have to take into consideration the survival rates of these coins. Once we get into 2022, you guys know around the first week of February, maybe the middle of February, brand new 2022 coins will begin to circulate. Starting off with pennies, I believe nickels and dimes, and then we're going to start to see quarters roll in. We got a new design coming out with these ladies on there. But yeah, keep in mind, you got to strike while the iron's hot, because once we get into 2022 and these new 2022 coinage begins to dilute the overall amount of coins that are in circulation, you're going to see less and less 2021s, therefore making it a little bit more difficult to find some of these errors. Man, that was such a long explanation. I'm sorry about that, but we're going to take a look at all of the relevant coins that have sold on eBay. These are generally errors and varieties. They're all raw. Nothing's graded, so you don't have to worry about that. Why spend the extra money to grade a coin if it's still going to be worth the same amount of money as you would sell it raw? There you go. Pretty common sense. So let's go ahead and jump right into these particular images. They're all raw images from the seller's listings, so some of them might not be nearly desirable enough to look at based off of the focus and how dark they are, but let's go ahead and kick it off with a good old true blue here. 1990 Jefferson Nickel. This one obviously has been struck off center by around 40%. It's a very attractive coin, very nice for a off-center collector of Jefferson Nickels. Some of them do collect these by date, so they're trying to assemble an entire date run. Plus, it has a full date, and that's what you want to see on these off-center struck coins. They're just worth a lot more money with that on there. This one right here is sold for $28.25. Just a beautiful premier example. Our first piece of currency on the list is going to be one of my favorites, and these are not particularly rare either. These can be found out there more noticeably on the older notes, but you could also find these on some of the newer notes. Some of the newer big head 100s and 20s and all that stuff do come up with these type of errors, and this is a back to front partial wet ink transfer. Which is pretty commonplace when you're, continuously printing sheets upon sheets of currency, and they all stack on top of each other. The ink's not quite dry on it, and that's where you get some of that transfer onto the subsequent sheets before it. This one right here is a 74 $1 Fed Reserve note. All right, a little bit older, but you could see that transfer on the front there. And on the back, it just also paints a little bit better of a story because the second print on the reverse of this note is a little bit light. You could see some insufficient inking on here as well. So they definitely had issues back in the 70s printing these things. This one right here sold for $67.99, and that was with 34 bids combined. So there was a lot of activity, a lot of people were interested in this note. Let's go ahead and kind of update ourselves on the market of the wide AMs. Now, this one is not a beautiful coin. All right, 1998 is one of the more common dates for the wide AM reverse. Of course, you guys know they made them in 98, 99, and 2000. 98 and 2000 being the most common dates for wide AMs, but you can see that pretty noticeable gap between the A&M, whereas the normal types will have the A&M touching or almost touching. All right, it's a pretty significant difference. But take a look at the coin in this current condition. Lots of carbon spotting. I would say it's a problem coin with, various staining and all that stuff in certain areas of the coin. For a coin that's 23 years old, that's understandable. This one sold for $5. So not bad. Quick few bucks for this coin. Obviously you don't want to throw it back 500 times face, and I know that sounds asinine for me to say because it's still only $5, but 500 times face is a pretty good rate of return on a penny found in circulation. Here's another one for all you roll hunters out there. Keep in mind, there's a few dates where you could find the no FG initials reverse caddy half dollars. Now, these are all as a result of an over braided die, which is just an over polishing. But as you can see right here between the eagle's leg and tail feathers, there is no FG, which is Frank Gasparo's initials on this coin. It's completely missing. Again, over a braided die, and these are as good as silver. If you're hunting half dollars for silver, you might want to consider finding these as well. This one sold for $19.99, which is approximately 90% silver half dollars. So not bad. Here is a 2016 Lincoln Shield cent. Now, it looks like it's a little bit off-center. You could possibly say that, but the big error part of this coin is that it is a tilted collar strike. All right, tilted collar error. So the collar keeps the coin in the striking chamber during its strike process, but when that collar is not fully engaged, maybe it's a little bit tilted, it's a little stuck. Keep in mind, this is a spring-loaded device on the minting press. It's going to not hold the coin in all the way, and in addition, it'll strike partially on that collar. Here's a really good edge view. These have also been referred to as a railroad rim in certain instances. The coin is pretty well circulated. It's not what I would consider to be a premier grade coin. However, this one did sell for $9, so that's a little bit of a pass. Why not take the $9 and send this off to a new home? Okay, so it begins. Brand new 2021 coins. Feels like it's been around for a while, but the Washington crossing the Delaware has been the ultimate chase find for errors. Most specifically, these crown die chips that you hear so much about. And they're only found on the Philadelphia minted examples. So if your coin has a letter P on the front, make sure you check the back. You might find something like this, where you have a nice sized die chip right above Washington's hat. Right here, that is not supposed to be there. There is also the big, large crown die chip that actually covers part of E pluribus unum. We will look at one of those as well later on in this video. This coin right here with a smaller progression, earlier progression die chip sold for $19. So this is kind of like the beginning point of where these things have potential. Make sure you pull these out. Every single one of them has some sort of value. I've seen some examples with a much smaller die chip sell for around $5 to $10. So those are even worthwhile finding out. But if you come across a full roll with a lot of these die chips in there, make sure you save all of them, because right now is when people are spending a lot of money on these. Here's another 2021 coin that I've been promoting like the stuffing out of for pretty much since the beginning of summer, and that's the 2021 Tuskegee Airmen National Park Quarter. This is the final ATB quarter of the series. But this one right here is well known for a myriad of different strike-throughs, especially on the reverse. A well-placed strike-through right on the building gives it the appearance of a burning building. And considering the Tuskegee Airmen were flying during World War II, this is kind of like that cross significance to it. It gives it that extra bit of like, hey, I could really imagine this building being blown to bits. With all the smoke and fire coming off of it, but really in reality, it's just a bunch of strike through, just some debris, some hardened grease that had landed in just the right spot. And then, this is probably one of the smaller type of strike throughs for the Tuskegee Airmen Quarter. So there are much more dramatic, much more eye-appealing strike throughs on this particular quarter to look out for. Now, considering its size, this example sold for $162.25, if you could believe it. And that's with 31 bids, ladies and gentlemen. So there was a ton of interest in these coins even today. If you could find them, you could make quick cash today. Take advantage of it. Go to your banks, find rolls of these, and have fun with it. That's all I could say about that. Now here's a really nice example of a 1980s Lincoln. This one is a copper. It's a bronze planchet coin, composition-wise. It's off-center by about 50%, give or take. Beautiful example. It's got some nice oxidation of the coin. You got some mint red in there. Overall, just a really nice problem-free example. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the full date, but what it lacks for an actual physical date, it makes up for just on eye appeal alone. And kudos to the seller for taking great pictures. This one sold for $12.50. Well, here's another one. This is the big, large, later state formation of that crown die chip. We like to kind of poke fun at it and call it the hamburger crown. You name it. It could be any sort of hamburger you could think of. I would say it looks like it probably has about 3 patties on there. But anyways, food stuff aside, I mean, this is the wild coin that has been setting the collector market on fire. This one right here, it's in pretty decent shape, This one, however, the only dig against this coin is that it was sold overnight. It was sold like at 11:30 in the evening. As you guys know, do not list coins so that way they end in the middle of the night. You're just not going to get nearly the amount of bids. People are going to be in bed at this hour. This one right here sold for $107.25, and that's with 2 bids. Whereas if this coin had ended 6 hours earlier, it might have eclipsed that $200 mark, the very dollar figure that we've seen multiple examples sell for. So this is probably a good pickup, other than to maybe keep it in your collection at such a low cost, but, maybe to even flip and double your money. Really, I don't know. A lot of opportunity here. These coins are still out there. Make sure you guys are looking for it. This is like easy money. All right, bringing it back down to earth a little bit, we have a 1965 Jefferson Nickel. This one has a little bit of a curved clip. You do have a little bit of the Blakesley effect or the flattening of the opposite edge of where that clip is, but there it is, right over the date. Still enough date that you know what it is. It's a really nice mid-state example. And, single clips are single clips. They're not the most desired. They're a little bit low on the totem pole in value. Like this one sold for $4. So, there you go. That's that. I mean, really not a whole lot else to say. I mean, if it had multiple clips, it would sell for quite a bit more. Now, the same old seller brought to you, again, another example of the Wounded or Speared Eagle reverse Sacagawea Dollar. Now, these are only found on the 2000p dated coins. Now take a look at this coin right here. Not the prettiest, but it is an example of the marquee variety you want to look out for. This one has a number of radial nicks right on the edge right here, which kind of detract from the overall look of the coin. You do have a couple pretty significant hits and digs on the reverse here. Maybe some what I like to call ring of death, which is what this one has right here. Which is just the crimping finger. When these things were packed in a roll, the crimping finger actually scraped around the edge of the coin as it's crimping that rolled edge of the paper. So this one definitely has it, unfortunately. But again, the variety's the variety, right? I mean, this one right here has that pair of die gouges that you want to look out for on this coin. And this particular seller has been making quite a living selling these here in the last few months. I would say he or she has probably found maybe a few dozen of these. And if you're actively looking for these are not rare. This is, again, another approachable variety. From a quantity standpoint, there are quite a few of these to look out for. Make sure you're trying. If you don't like searching dollar coins, it's okay. Other people will take advantage of that. This particular example, with all of its warts and stuff, still sold for $73.48, which is an incredibly strong sale for such a marquee variety. Now, the next two pieces of currency are quite nice. I like these two. We have a 1977A $1 Federal Reserve note. This one has a number of various gutter folds. Okay, gutter folds occur when the sheet has some wrinkling to it. So when it has wrinkling and they're printed over, obviously you're going to have these white voids where the wrinkles are. All right, especially if you don't stretch out the paper, which most of these BEP employees don't do. Unless it's like a really big sheet, they'll just toss that out. But the smaller sheets, yeah, these things are kind of hard to look for when you're going through many thousands of sheets on a daily basis. But you can see that there on the right side. You can also see it on the reverse. So you got one right here, you got two, and then you have this very, very thin little baby gutter fold right there, which is cool, you know. The more gutter folds, the better. This example sold for $52.26, and that's with 18 bids altogether. The next one that we have here is a badly misaligned first print note. No, it's not miscut because the third print is in the right position, which is your district seals, your green serial numbers, and then the quad corner digits, the 4 7s that you see there. But if you look at the back of the note, it's perfectly centered. For the most part, it's a little bit off kilter, but it's not completely off where you would say miscut. But stick around. Later on in the video, I do have an example of a miscut note, and you'll see the difference between the two. This particular example is a 1988, by the way, so a relatively recent note. But this one right here did sell for $47.19, and that's with 27 total bids. So again, there was some interest for this particular error note. All right, check your silver. I've said it once and I'll say it again, because what could be construed as melt value to you could be construed as probably 3 times melt value to someone else. Here's a 1954 Franklin half dollar with a curved clip. Again, not a big clip by any standards. This is a coin I would imagine would be overlooked in most cases. Or the misconception is these have no value. But, you know, how much is a melt value Franklin half dollar these days? Like $8. So this one right here sold for $29. And that's with 3 bids altogether. So there's a few people going back and forth on this one. Here's the next installment of our 2021 series, this time on a J-Nick, this Jefferson Nickel. No, I did not manipulate the photos to appear to make the reverse look rotated. It really is rotated by about 30 degrees. This was sold by Mr. Catch. He had found a number of these. Catch found a cash, right? And is making cash. Yeah, my puns are not straight today, so if you're laughing, thank you for that. I'm trying too hard, apparently. But these are on Philadelphia's. Again, rotated dies occur in just about any date. Any date. There is still a common issue that Mint employees don't catch until way later in the process when they're sitting there doing their calibrations and all that stuff. But the best way that you can sell these, there are two different methods. You can either put in a 2x2 holder like this, so that way when you flip it over, you can see the apparent 30-degree rotation. The other way is also to use the mirror method. So if you could take a picture of this nickel with a mirror in the background showing the reverse image, that's another way that people have manipulated this type of error for their selling needs. Such a great coin. I mean, it's brand new, exception with that nick on the reverse there. This one sold for $32, and that's with 6 bids. So again, another opportunity on some brand new coin that you guys can take advantage of. Now, this one's not a 2021, but I'd like to say 2020 is relatively modern enough that it's certainly worth a conversation. This is the American Samoa back quarter from last year. You guys know, very well known. And very well known for its strike-through issues. A lot of QC missteps in these particular coins, and that's mainly due in part to the pandemic, just the lack of employee base to actually handle quality controls. But you could see just a big old huge strike-through right on the face of the bat. This is one of the more extreme examples that you want to look for, and they are still out there. They're still being found. This example right here has, quite a bit of circulation. It's got a few nicks on certain areas of the coin as well, so it's not perfect. However, check out the money. It sold for $224.75, and that's with 4 bids. People understand the significance of this coin with this error. Here's another minor error. This is a 74D. My apologies, the coin really was out of focus, but this one has a few strike-through areas. Maybe it struck through detached lamination. This one looks like more so detached lamination strike through. This one right here is looks like a hardened piece of grease with some debris in there, but yeah. 74D, obviously a good coin to just pull aside and just, see what you could do with it. This one sold for $16.49, and that's with 5 bids. Here's a 1984D Roosevelt Dime. Again, more out of focus pictures, but this one right here is off center by about 60%, somewhere around there. I mean, it's a really nice example if you're looking for this for a date set. This particular coin sold for $30, and that's with 5 bids. All right, so here's another example of the strike-through Tuskegee Airmen. So we got another burning building strike-through here on this one. Again, brand new coin. However, this one has circulated a good deal. The picture's a little bit dark, slightly out of focus, but all in all, it's still sold for what I consider to be a solid amount of money. There's the close-up of the strike-through. Again, one of the smaller types for this particular date. And this one sold for $88, and that's with 26 bids. Again, more and more desirability for these coins. We're still in 2021, folks. Take advantage of it. Go ahead and find yourself a few of these. Now, any old note that has a star, generally some of the old obsolete types, like this one right here is what you call a Federal Reserve banknote. All right, so something like this with a replacement star note. It's got a relatively semi-low serial number. These are always desirable, but star notes of some very specific types of notes, like, for example, the FRBNs, the emergency notes like the North Africa and the Hawaii overprint notes with stars on them, man, these notes are extremely valuable in any condition. So if you come across these, like in an old collection that grandmother had or something like that, or maybe at a show and they're asking like way too little money for them, pick them up because they're all worth a lot of money. Now, this note right here has circulated quite a bit on there. And this particular note sold for $221.50, and that's with 23 bids. The note is raw, ungraded, and very valuable. Now, this is probably the neatest coin on the list. This is a undated. You can't see a date. It looks like a strike through. It's a 90% silver quarter. So it is 90% in composition, probably from the 50s or 60s. And at first glance, it looks like a strike through, right? Like, you know, there was some grease on the dies, but upon closer examination, sitting next to a regular 90% silver quarter, we have what appears to be a little bit thinner coin on the left. That's the coin that was sold. What we have here instead is actually a tapered planchet. So a part of the coin is a lot thinner, but the rest of the coin is in perfect thickness tolerance. So this particular area where you have the date is thinner. All right, and that's just based off of being, you know, maybe toward the end of the strip before the planchets were punched out. And this one right here is a regular thickness 90%. So that's pretty neat. You just notice the thin area is the tapered part of the planchet. This one right here sold for $52.94, and that's with 9 bids. Not too bad considering its condition and lack of date. Now here's the Miscut $20 bill I was talking about earlier. Okay, so the first and third print on the front are all in perfect kind of like orientation from each other. And if you look on the back, see how far up it is. So this is a classic miscut error on this note, and this one right here sold for $49.99. Miscuts occur and can be found even in current age of notes. They're not the most valuable errors, but when you do come across one that's quite a bit off, you know, that's a good time to sell those. And sure enough, this seller took advantage of this one. Here's another favorite. I love finding this particular variety. It's a 1956, and it is a Denver. This is a D over D repunch mint mark. As you can see up close, the secondary D is west of the primary mint mark. This is one of your strongest RPMs for the 50s. And this one is also a Cherry Picker's Guide variety. It's actually categorized as FS 501 in the Cherry Picker's Guide. Again, really nice looking coin, as you can see. You know, it's not perfect in a mid-state red kind of way. It does have some sort of like carbon spotting or staining on the reverse. But aside from that, just a really nice example of this RPM that sold for $32.95. Two more coins on the list, and the final two coins are going to be some pretty substantial cud die breaks. We have one right here. This one is referred to as the Atheist Cud. The die break occurred right over the motto, and it covered part of the word God. All right, so that's how it got its namesake. Not me. I did not make that up. That's the name it's been given over the years. The coin has a few areas of concern. Pretty strong carbon spotting is a little bit of a detractor from the overall appeal of the coin. But again, cuds are king today. These coins sell for a boatload of money. If you can find them, you can make a grip of cash. This particular example sold for $65, which is a really good amount of money for this coin. It's also worth mentioning this is an 82 large date, and it's also a bronze composition. All right, and then the final coin is another big cud. This one is just insane. 1975, again, it does have some sort of, it has an apparent fingerprint right on the obverse. It does have carbon spotting in certain areas, but man, what a beautiful coin. Beautiful, beautiful die break. Again, cuds occur or die breaks occur when, you know, so many strikes happen. Even the dies are not immune to wear and tear, ladies and gentlemen. If you're striking 500,000 coins in the course of a few hours, obviously things are going to go on with those. You know, it's like an automobile. You drive it for a long time, and the thing begins to spit and sputter and belch out smoke, and you know that wear and tear can do a lot of things to a car. This one right here is a huge cut. I mean, you know, this is a very collectible example, and this particular example sold for $95. Which is right in the ballpark. The bigger the cud, the more that it's worth. Keep that in mind. But even the smaller cuds as well have generally carry quite a bit of value. A lot of those examples have been selling in the $20 to $30 range for really small ones on Lincoln cents. Lincoln cent cuts are very valuable in their own right, but you know, the size of them does matter in the course of overall value for these coins. So just a beautiful example. The last coin on the list for the Pocket Change Market Report for the last day, or not so much last day of the month, but the last one of the month of October before we head into November. I want to thank you guys for joining in on this video. I wish you guys the best of luck in all of your hunting for this weekend and for the coming weeks. Coin is going to be in short supply out there in the banking system, so make sure you're doing your due diligence and you're calling ahead, number one. Number two, you're asking every single time you walk into the bank, hey, do you have 5 rolls you could spare of this denomination? And more than likely, they're going to hook you up with something. Better to get a little piece of pie than getting no pie at all. That's my motto. Which is irrelevant, you know, given that Thanksgiving is just around the corner. We all want our pie, right? But that's it. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. It sure was a pleasure. Again, like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed today's content. Hit the dislike button if you don't. But that's going to go ahead and do it, my Coinaholics. I wish you guys the best. We are discovering together. And I hope you guys discover some pretty neat stuff yourself. Take care, guys.